This is beeswax, which is what I'm going to be working with today. This is how most people are familiar with it. If you're a seamstress or you do quilting, you've probably seen it put up like this. This is one of the ways that you'll see it at fabric stores. The other way is a little round cake of it that goes into an acrylic holder so you can slide your thread across it. This is a 1 pound block of beeswax, and it's a little cloudy because I store mine in the freezer. I bought probably 10 pounds worth of these and a couple of these. This is a 2 pound block. At least 11 years ago, because I've been vegan for 11 years and I haven't bought beeswax since. I got this on eBay, but you can also find it if you have local beekeepers. Very often they put up their beeswax just in these very rough 1 pound blocks. Beeswax comes in 2 flavors, unfiltered, which can be very dark or a little lighter, and filtered, which very often is an extremely pale amber or almost clear. I like the unfiltered stuff. So I store this in the freezer because what I really need to do beeswax collage is this little tiny pieces of broken beeswax block that I can drop into a melter, or in some cases, like very small pieces like this, I can just throw this onto a surface and heat it. And I'll talk about the tools that I use to do that in another video. So to get from this to this, the easiest way to make it happen is to stick the block in the freezer, and then when it's still frozen, take it out and just whack it against the side of a table. Very often what I'll do is I'll put the block into a plastic bag and seal it up and then whack. And it basically shatters because it's frozen solid. And you end up with little tiny bits. And then from here, I can cut these with a craft knife, or I can just melt off a little bit with a tack iron or whatever. But this is really not very useful in its current state. It really needs to be smaller pieces or chunks. Tools that I use to work with beeswax. The first one is a melting pot. This one is put out by Ranger. And I started using this before they started making the little pans that you drop in. You can see it's pretty much a mess because I never remember to clean off the extra wax while it's still warm. So it sets up and gets it all gunky. I like this because it has the little divot for a brush. And this brush is the one that I've dedicated to beeswax work. It's a bristle brush, kind of like this one that I got at the hardware store. And it's good for applying wax onto most pieces. It's stuck in there right now because the wax is set up. And that's okay because once I get to work, I'll just heat this up. I like this melting pot because it has a temperature gauge on it. So I can make sure that I'm just getting the wax melted without getting it too hot. Wax is flammable. If you get it too hot, it will burst into flames. So if you're using something like this and you see smoke coming out of it, or you see a black sort of scum forming on the top, your wax is too hot. You need to dial it down a little bit. So I use a melting pot, but I have used in the past wax melters. There are some that are made for like melting scented waxes in your home. Those are fine. They look like little crock pots. And there's also beeswax melters that estheticians use for waxing your legs. If you go and get a professional wax, you've probably seen the little pots. They look like little crock pots. And they have a temperature dial on them that allows you to get it so it's just melting the wax and not too hot. Okay, so that's the thing that I use to pre-melt. These are tack irons. This one is from eBay, and it's for framing. And you can buy tack irons like this at like framing supply stores online. But really, I just bought a used one because I use it maybe once or twice a year for 30 minutes, and that's it. This one is by Clover, and it's for quilters. You can just do a very small iron if you're like flattening out seams. And also it's pointy, so you can get into deep corners. Most fabric stores, I think, still carry these. This one has kind of a vague temperature dial on it, low to high. I try to do a test before I use this. Start it out low and dial it up just a little bit. And you want to get it just so that your piece of wax melts quickly when you put it on, but not so hot that it liquefies the wax completely, because then it gets messy. The other things I have are tweezers, and these are really useful because this is hot and the wax is hot, and there's a huge potential for burning your fingers. I never seem to come out of a collage piece without at least one blister on my finger. So tweezers are great for moving things around and for flattening things into the wax when you've lifted out your iron. And I'll probably show you an example of what I just said when I do my collage postcards.